Hello. January 30th edition of the Virtual Pipe Club. I'm David Dorian Ross, the founder of the Pipe Club, and these are some of the well, that didn't work at all. These are some of the fantastic gentlemen of the Virtual Pipe Club, and if we're lucky, we'll have some of the ladies of the Virtual Pipe Club joining us as well. I am very delighted to, well, first of all, before I even say anything, if you're watching over there on YouTube or something like that, or because we're live streaming to YouTube and to Facebook, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I just want to know why not. That's all. So hit the subscribe button and then we can just get that over with and go on. Today, we have a very special guest. And if you have not seen, if you could imagine imagine a classic Bing Crosby design that has been put in a transporter and then gone to some dark planet and come back transformed. You might have a slight idea of the designs of today's guest. Today's guest is Chris Kelly from Eldritch Pipes, and I'm fascinated. I'm a big fan. I'm in love with his designs, and he's going to be our guest today. He's not here yet, so we're gonna just kind of go around the room and greet everybody. And I am going to stop talking because whenever I talk, it goes through that thing on. So Oliver, you got to take it away and get everybody to talk about their pipes and their smokes today.
Take the lead. Okay. So I see Boris, the old school DJ. Hey, my friend. What are you smoking today?
Nothing yet, actually. I was the whole day busy, and I was shown already the pipe I'm going to smoke this evening. This Werner Eisenreich Weiss pipe. And I guess I'm going again with the Peterson Signature Flake. I discovered that one last week, and I'm absolutely in love with it. It's fabulous tobacco.
Okay. Perfect. So what else? Australia is on board, I see. What are you smoking today? Welcome. You are on mute. Yeah, now.
Yeah, got it. That should be better. My Peterson 302 spigot, and this will be my second bowl of Cornell and Deal Good Morning. So interested to, I've been quite impressed actually. It's different from the Peterson early morning pipe. So yes, I'll be looking forward to that.
Is your pipe with a pea-lip or with a fishtail?
I'm a traditionalist. It's a P-lip.
All right, perfect. Love it. Oh, Japan is in the house. Unbelievable. Or is it not? Or it looks like. Oh no, it's Derek. It looks like you said in Japan.
Hey, what's up? Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, hey, man, what's going on? I got just my old legend. I'm smoking some of that F&K Black Miss Value. It's pretty good English. I really like it. I got a lot of it the other day.
Very cool.
Anybody know where Todd Dwyer's been lately?
I haven't seen old Todd for a bit. He did pop in a couple times. I'm not sure if it's still season there, but he was doing some soccer, I think. He's a teacher and he might be actually coaching. But while the weather's good, he's probably outdoors. I hope to see him though. And Todd, if you're listening, as long as you're not here, we're just going to talk about you behind your back. So just be aware.
I'm surprised they allow soccer in California right now.
It's only in Michigan that they've canceled all sports.
Yeah. Well, in California, it's a very interesting game because they have to, be 6 feet apart. So there's no stealing of the ball in.
And they have those big old bubbles around them that, so they can't touch anybody.
It's like foosball, table soccer. You got to get a long rope.
But guys, table soccer is totally different, Europe and the American ones. You know that, right? The American ones, they have 3 goalkeepers. That's unbelievable.
No, there's only one in the games that we play here.
2 defensemen.
Oh, 2 defensemen, yeah.
Yeah.
That's because we're better shots. We have to have better defense.
I was looking for the comeback. I really was. Thank you for doing that, man. And you saved us there.
That was Rob, but yes, he's
Oh,
online. So while we're talking pipes here, I just bought one. See if I can show it. So it's an actual Bing Crosby. Let's see if you can see the bottom of it. So it's a design that was made by him. What's unique? Yeah, all right, hold on a second. I'm trying to pull it apart here. So I'm trying to find somebody who's actually bought one of these. I haven't smoked it yet, brand new. But it's got a balsa filter and then holes in the stem. So if you look closely, you can see the holes in the stem.
Yeah.
And you can pull this filter apart, and in the advertisements from that time frame, you could buy 6 of them, and they had a little stand for all 6 of them to be held up. And so you just smoke one day and then hang them all up to dry. So I haven't been able to find any additional filters yet, so I've not smoked this thing. But it's got an original patent by Bing Crosby.
Wow.
So is it like a hollow tube, or could you use a Savinelli balsa?
No, it is a very hollow tube. It's a very unique. Oops, there it is.
The sheath is the other way too.
Yeah. So this balsa piece comes apart, and there's the filter.
Oh, crazy.
You can see the filter right there. You can see the balsa. So very different.
I wonder if there'll be any issues keeping it unclogged and clean.
That's what I'm not sure of yet. So I haven't tried it out. I was hoping to find another at least one more filter that I can have to use. So
Hopefully it's not a 10 use and then you throw it away.
yeah.
It's a very, very short-lived pipe. It's going to become a wall ornament before too long.
Well, maybe it'll sing to him since it really is Bing.
I do want to pull in some of the comments that we're getting over there on YouTube and Facebook because although I haven't said it today, when you're watching over there on the live stream, you're just as much a part of the club meeting and the whole conversation as anybody else does. So please, if you got questions for our special guest, or if you got something to share, a story to tell, or whatever, just throw it in there, and I'll transmit it. Sultan Piper is over there. It says today he's smoking some plum pudding in his Sultan of Ottoman Meerschaum. That sounds awesome. I love plum pudding, as a matter of fact. Bobby Moog is over there. Says the best live of the week. Oh, thank you, man. That's that's really sweet. Thank you. Fantastic. Well, we have some more room here in the Zoom room if anybody wants to come and join us. But if you're watching on YouTube, I am not putting up the link because the last time we did that, it was a whole different kind of show. So we're not doing that again. We got Zoom bombed, and so we're very careful. But if you are not completely avoiding Facebook altogether, you can just run over to Facebook real quick and hop into just about any of the pipe clubs, pipe groups, whatever, because I put up the link all over the place, and so you can just come and join us. GD Oot na Boot says a big howdy from Scotland. I'll be having some Cabby's mixture. I have a big stock of Cabby's mixture, by the way. I love that stuff. I laid some by, as they say. He's oot na boot with his dog. That's fantastic.
Hey, David.
Yes, sir.
Speaking about YouTube, are you set up on Rumble yet?
No. Tell me more. I don't know about this.
Rumble is the alternative to Google these days.
As long as I don't have to date anybody, because I'm spoken for, you know.
Hey, I got my club pipe going.
Rumble is just a YouTube alternative. It's gaining popularity the way that because of how YouTube and Facebook have been shutting certain people down. You know what I'm saying?
I'm actually smoking a pipe. This is called the Slender Man, and it was made by our guest today, Chris Kelly. And with that, I'm smoking some Mountains of Madness, which is a Ken Byron blend.
First of all, I'm really jealous that you have an Eldritch pipe. I'm going to bring that up today in the meeting for sure.
You should.
Absolutely. And Ken, by the way, is going to be our guest here in a couple of weeks. So tell him, what's the Mountains of Madness like?
It is it's just a really smooth Balkan blend. Really, just nice and well balanced. It's a great, if you love English, it's just an amazing blend.
Okay, so that's going on my list because I am a Balkans English blend lover. We have a question over here. This is a good one for the group here, sort of collective mind. With the demise of Prince Albert and the rumored demise of Sir Walter Raleigh, what does the future hold for codger blends? What do you think, guys?
Well, I talked to the folks at Middleton. They said that Prince Albert hasn't been discontinued. What they told me was that at least as far as the pouches go, they're going to not do the pouches until the COVID thing is over with. But they said Prince Albert is still available at the wholesalers, and that once the pandemic was done, that they not only that they were going to go back to doing the pouches again. So, and I mean, it's probably a week and a half ago that I talked to them. And I mean, things change. It's not, they might not even know what they're going to end up doing.
Hey, everybody. That was Tom speaking. I'd like to welcome him to our club. He's a member of our Sherlock Holmes Pipe Club in Boston. And Tom does our tobacco raffle every week, and he does an absolutely amazing job. He's got us some difficult to find blends, and every month it's a lineup of several very excellent tobaccos to choose from. So Welcome to the Virtual Pipe Club, Tom.
Thanks, Tim. I'm actually smoking the pipe you made for me a couple of years ago.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Tom, welcome. It's always nice to meet somebody new, and always nice to meet a friend of Tim's. Don't be a stranger, I always say. So now that you're here, you can.
I was here at the last meeting, but I was just sort of lurking in the background most of the time.
You know, it's a slippery slope. You start out lurking, and then the next thing you know, you're a regular. Just
Yeah.
warning you. Well, the time has come. I'd like to introduce our special guest for the day. I've been a lot of the guys that I've brought on as special guests have been people that I discovered on YouTube. To be honest with you, I spent a lot of time on YouTube because other than work, I have no life. Just you guys, my work, and YouTube. That's it. But I discovered Chris on his YouTube channel and was taken immediately by just his presentation style, to be honest. And then from there, utterly fascinated by the work that he does, the pipes that he makes, the rod stock that he creates, and then his love of fantastical stories. You guys know I love stories too. So I'm going to see if we can entice him to speak about all that today. It's Chris Kelly, and his website and his Instagram channel is Eldritch Pipes. And if you haven't been introduced to him before, it's my great pleasure to introduce him today. So I'm going to see if I can pull him up over here and spotlight him. Chris, welcome, sir.
Have you got me? Am I there?
There we go. Nice to meet you. Let me kick this off. I kick it with a little bit of a different question than I often ask, and that is, what do you love about pipes?
Oh man, what do I love about pipes? I don't know. I guess everyone's journey into the pipe world is a bit different. It seems to me, well, all of my grandparents smoked, not pipes, just cigarettes, but that kind of, the love of that smell, I just had from a really early age. And so I was a cigarette smoker for a while, and then I wanted to kick that habit. I was sort of done with just sort of smoking tobacco. I couldn't control that habit. I wasn't happy with it, so I kicked tobacco, but I really missed it. And I thought that there had to be a way that I could sort of enjoy it without feeling compelled by it. And it just happened that at the time I was at college, and it was in Stratford, and they had a proper tobacconist, a brick and mortar tobacconist, and it was the first one I'd ever seen. And I walked past it every day, or twice a day, because it was between the college and the train station. And, you know, the smell that just wafted out of this tobacconist was just amazing. So I would see the pipes in the window, and it was just that I thought maybe that's my way. And it turned out that it was, you know, pipe smoking. It was quite a while. I probably was smoking pipe for about 10, 12 years before I ever considered making a pipe. But that was my way in. It was to find a way of enjoying tobacco that I felt I had control over. So yeah, it stuck with me. So I'm perfectly happy with my pipe. Thank you very much.
So that is a bit of a different pathway than a lot of pipe carvers. So did the reintroduction of smoking through pipes lead to a different kind of tobacco experience? I mean, there's a big difference between cigarettes and premium pipe tobaccos.
Yeah, so when I bought my first pipe, and I was asking the guy, what should I smoke? And he said, what do you normally smoke? And I said, I used to smoke cigarettes. So I think the guy knew he could have some fun. He could introduce me to stuff that I'd not been exposed to. And I remember the first one or two I wasn't that thrilled with. It was like, okay, this is tobacco, fine. But I remember there was, it was called Balkan Supreme in the shop. Now, I don't think it's a blend that was available. I think they blended it in that shop, because many years later I tried to get it from them, and I've done internet searches for it, and I've never across anything called Balkan Supreme. So I think they did it in the shop. It's a real shame, because I smoked that blend and it was like, that was the hook. It was like, this is amazing. It was the first Latakia blend I'd smoked, so that was one aspect to it, but it just had this other flavor. I call it pink. It tasted pink because I have no other language to describe it, but it was just surreal. It was a surreal smoke, and I was just off. And it was definitely, although, you know, when you walk into a tobacconist, the smell that you can usually smell is the aromatics in their jars. You can't smell the Latakia really, but it was definitely the Latakias that I hooked onto pretty early on. That was my path. I do like some aromatics, but definitely it was the discovery of Latakia that was like, blew my mind, for sure.
Oh.
Yeah, what else can I say about that?
You do, I've seen on your channel, you do tobacco reviews occasionally. So are you continuing your exploration of different kinds of tobaccos and flavors? And
I'm a natural, what would you say?
Hedonist? No, I'm just
adventurous. I have like my twin. Well, actually, I have a third obsession as well, which is board games. But I wasn't going to expand that into my YouTube life. Tobacco and whiskey are my twin vice adventures, and so I'm always looking for. In fact, I just discovered Peter Heinrich blends because someone sent me some of the dark strong flake, and man, that was some of the best stuff I've tasted in a long time. It's like coming from a slightly different sort of taste profile as well. It's you know, it's kind of like this intense tobacco with this slight aromatic angle. I suppose we would call it almost a crossover blend, a non-Latakia crossover blend, if you want to put it like that, where the emphasis is the tobacco, but it has this subtle aromatic element to it as well that adds this kind of this extra dimension, and just is it's just
I guess it's something from the line of Bengal Slices by Rasoulet, or Frogmorton Across the Pond from McClellan. Frogmorton was one of the best crossover blends. It's amazing English with the Syrian Latakia and a little bit of topping just to make it more interesting, to give something extra without overpowering taste of tobacco.
Exactly, yeah. And I don't know if anyone's been to the, this is a kind of like an added intrigue to the Peter Heinrich blends, is that if you go to the...
Yeah, now you want me. Why didn't you just say that the first time? Why you gotta use secret hand signals? You're 30 years old. I'm sure your mom knows you smoke. 31.
I am...
It's like when my mom is like, hey, do you think? Here's all the food.
Hold on one second, gentlemen. Oops. I'm going to put us all on mute for a bit here.
That was interesting.
Hold on a second there.
Where do you find inspiration for your designs?
Yes, was I muted just then? So when I started, I knew that I wanted to do something different. I wasn't really keyed into social media before I carved pipes because I had no reason. So I was a little bit ignorant of what was going on in the pipe scene. And the very first, in fact, my impetus to make a pipe was because I wanted a studded metal pipe. And I started looking around to see if it could be found anywhere, and it couldn't. I couldn't find what I was looking for. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to make this. But a little way down the road, so if you've looked at much of the stuff that I do, there is a strong Lovecraft influence. That is, well, maybe the best way to put it is just weird. Something that it give you the sense of something not right going on. That's kind of the feeling. And so I just went down that route. And after I'd started for a while, and I slowly got into the online pipe world, I started discovering people like Christian Wolfsteiner creating these mind-blowing, it's like, if you hadn't seen these things, you wouldn't think a pipe could be these forms, these shapes. And in fact, I almost threw in my hat when I saw Christian Wolfsteiner's work. It was like, okay, this game of weird pipes is over and he's won. What can I do? But I sort of, I didn't give up. I kept going. I got some pipes beside me. I'm just going to show you one of them because sometimes you make a pipe and it sort of feeds from an idea, and sometimes it connects with people out there, sometimes it doesn't. And I made there's a pipe called the Deep One, and I made the first one quite a few years ago, and it really didn't catch anyone's imagination. And yet, at the turn of last year, all of a sudden it was Deep One commission, Deep One commission, Deep One commission. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden it came out. And the idea behind the Deep One, if you know the Lovecraft stories, is it's like they're sort of human hybrids that live underwater. So it's this like, it's kind of like aquatic thing living amongst sort of deep sea creatures. So it has this kind of like smooth, ridged quality, and then sort of on the rim, it's kind of like I imagine things like, those volcanic vents that have things growing up around them. It's all kind of like coral, leprous corals, sulfur.
This looks unbelievable.
Yeah, so it's kind of designed to evoke, well, it's an attempt to evoke those kind of ideas.
It's also a hefty looking pipe there.
Right. Actually, I'll show you. I know the dude just shows you a slender man. I'm going to show you another one.
Looks like something Captain Nemo would smoke.
Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah. For a while, I was making lots of chunky, beasts of pipes, really. Because I wanted that amount of wood to give the pipe this kind of presence. But after a while, I realized that served one function, but I also wanted pipes that had a lot of utility as well. So I kind of started to explore the other end, which is, well, pencil shanks, essentially, but let's see if I can get that one in. So these guys, just designed to be as pencil thin as I could comfortably make them. The diameter on this is about 10 millimeters, which is as small as I can go because of the inner workings of the pipe. I can't get it to go any smaller and still have the airway as large as I like it. So these are done with a reverse tenon. So the structure comes from, let me see if I can get that in the light, from a carbon fiber rod that runs the length. I don't know if you've ever seen briar when it's 10 mil thick, but it's got a fair bit of flex to it at that point.
Tom Elting says that he puts a lot of those carbon fiber rods inside of some of those. In fact, the stems for his basic pipe is just a carbon fiber rod. No.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Like, yeah, I remember. Are they called? Is it diplomat pipes? Maybe, and you just got like a pot shape, and then
his basic, the Elting. I'm sure that, by the way, there are other pipes. I'm just picking on Tom for a second. His is like a little mini poker, and then just this. It's as close to a corncob kind of as anything else, but they're excellent smokers, and he doesn't use any briar for the stem, just this little straw.
Yeah. I think John. I'm going to kill myself if I don't remember his name. Is it John Walker? Who does a lot of cob modifications. I think he might have something similar in a cob format. So you've got a cob and then you've got a carbon fiber rod with there's a mouthpiece.
John Keller?
John Keller.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I want to pause for just a tiny second here. Oh boy, we're going to dive much deeper into this topic with Chris here. But I do want to open it up for some questions before we get too farther along. And of course, over there on Facebook and YouTube, if you've got questions for Chris, throw them in the comments. I've got the comments appearing before me, and I'll pass along your question to Chris. But I'm just going to open it up to the whole group here. If you guys have some questions for Chris.
Chris, I have a follow-up question to the inspiration. Do you have a creative process? Like, do you just wait till these ideas come to you, or do you get to a point where, well, I need to come up with something new? Let me go looking for ideas. What's your creative process?
You know, you do hear a lot of other pipe makers sort of say that the process is like some variation of communing with the wood, you know, dealing with the pipe, the bit that's in front of you. That's not me. I'm very much, I have the idea springs into into my head, the head I almost, to my head, no one else's. And it goes from there. It's kind of, how can you describe the creative process? It's, I mean, I don't draw. I've tried to draw because, if you ever see Chris Astery designing his pipes, he's like this amazing artist as well. And you see like these wonderful pictures on these blocks of briar before he goes and makes them. I'm like, well, I wish I could do that. But I literally think with my hands. So I don't pre-design, not in any detail. I only pre-design in really broad strokes. And then I just have to get to the wood and see what happens. It's like each deep one that I've made, for example, actually each Slenderman even, is slightly different. Well, because one of the things that I like to do, does your Slenderman have a briar top? Does it have a plateau top?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly, right. So
yeah.
I love doing that because it means that everyone has kind of fit the plateau of that block. And because every block is more or less wildly different, you get a different shape every time. So there's that element, there's deciding to commit to the wood, if you like, by going, I'm going to give this a plateau rim. The Dr. Silence reading pipe also has a plateau rim, which is sort of using that idea again. You know, each one is going to be original because the piece of plateau that it's going to meet is always going to be different. So there's that. But it's like, I'll show you one. I had this idea to do do you know much of Lovecraft stuff?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Do you know there's a story called The Curse of Yig, and Yig is this, like father of snakes god, and I wanted something like that, but again, I only had it in really broad strokes in my head. That the profile of the pipe would kind of like be like a tail almost. And so I don't know how this is going to pick up here. So you got the S, like kind of the S bend curve.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so I have that, but I knew this was going to be like, okay, I call it textures of monster is kind of like the phrase I kind of have in my head. I don't do something that looks like a creature because I like to have things look like they're a pipe primarily. They're a pipe first. And then, is this going to pick this up?
Oh, wow.
So you get the kind of like, I don't know, I kind of went slightly lizardish, kind of like ridged scales and then horn bits.
I see a dragon tail.
You could see a dragon tail. Because it's a little bit, well, in fact, it's quite ambiguous. Is it lizard? Is it snake? Is it dragon? I guess that is the area I like to play in. I don't like specifics. I like to create a feel. And so
there's a bit of langoustine about it too.
What's the biggest pipe you've ever made?
Biggest, as in terms of like in weight or in length?
Bowl.
Probably the heaviest pipe I've ever made would be a Viking horn. And I don't have one here, but I did a version. I do a category of pipe I called alchemist pipe, which is a kind of which is a fusion of resin and briar. And the resin is heavier than the briar, so those pipes will wind up being sort of in the 140, 150 gram weight, pretty heavy. You don't clench. They're a hold in the hand pipe. And the longest would be, I made a pipe.
What was my next
I
question?
was trying to see how long I could make one. I called it a demi warden. I think it might have been 12 inches. But that wasn't that heavy. That wasn't heavy. So that was, yeah. So a kind of a small church warden, and then the Viking horn for the heaviest, for sure.
You're familiar with Uwe Meyer's work. You have mentioned Christian Wolfsteiner earlier. Uwe Meyer is something near to that style. I know some pipes about Wolfsteiner because of some blog articles. And unfortunately, he has passed away a few years ago. So now I think Roger Wallenstein and Uwe Meyer are the two makers that go in that style. Are you familiar with that, with their works?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got a video about Uwe Meyer, looking at his work. He's amazing. I think I called his style sort of like materials. What do I call it? Like, because he likes to create other materials in bright, doesn't he? Like his current one is like lots of jean, like denim type material.
Yes, it's like an everyday material, like toothpaste, things like that, right?
Yeah. And then he'll actually thread it as well. Yeah, he's amazing.
Thread is a big tool of his work. He works a lot with Dremels and makes pipes like tubes, like how you call it? Very interesting and outstanding pipes.
Chris got
I actually talked a bit when I did the video for Uwe Meyer. Stefan Muller contacted me and said, do you want to know how that group got together? Because there was Stefan Muller, Roger Wallenstein, Christian Wolfsteiner, and who have I missed? And Stefan Muller. And Stefan Muller and Roger Wallenstein investigated new shapes. And Uwe Meyer and Christian Wolfsteiner investigated new pipe finishes, new textures, new looks, new ways of treating the pipe to give new colors. And so they were like, all four of them were like a powerhouse of invention, creating just looks that nobody had ever seen before. Amazing group.
Or as the classic lovers say, the enfant terrible of the pipe world. Because they are looking very different for someone who likes classic shapes, but it's also fascinating.
But what the really great thing about that group is that you can sort of see what links them. So it's not just one person over here and one person over here. You can see how their ideas are sort of being used by each other. And so there's a real, it's a style. I mean, I would want to call it like the new German. I don't know what to call it, but it has in the same way. There are some things that you could say for sure were.
Chris, I've got a couple of questions over here. I want to make, first of all, I apologize for stepping over you there. But I wanted to make sure I didn't forget about the guys over there on YouTube asking questions. Some really cool. First of all, you have a bunch of fans already. I think there's a few people who've never seen your pipes before, and they're already going, "Oh my God, that's really cool." The pipe that you showed with the dragon tail is several of the fellows over there on YouTube said it looks like a trilobite. And somebody else says, you can't beat a good trilobite pipe. I mean, so, but really interesting question. Michael, hold on, because I'm going to bring your question up a little bit later when we talk about pipe, about the rods. But Paul asks, have you ever had a eureka moment while making a pipe that just changed your whole approach and just shifted the direction that you were going?
Oh man, okay. You want me to think through 6 years? I don't know if I had one moment, because pipe making is not quite like that. It's every day you go in to the workshop and you see what happens. And sometimes things work and sometimes things don't work. I suppose the only eureka moment I did have was actually really early on. And I started the way maybe maybe a lot of new pipe makers start, which is I was buying pre-drilled blocks. And I was just doing it for my own fun. And I think maybe I was 3 or 4 pipes in, and you know, they were pretty terrible looking things. My pipes were pretty terrible looking for a little while, as is the way of these things. But there was one pipe in that group that I'd made, and I think it's probably long gone. So there's a bunch of pipes. You know, I wasn't selling these things. I was just making them and smoking them. And I'd done some carving on them and finished it and colored it. And I was just sitting looking at it going, that actually looks like a pipe, you know, rather than just a lump of briar. You know, I think I could do this. Could go further. So if there was a eureka moment, it was only in the sense that I could foresee that in the future I might be an okay pipe maker rather than just forever just an amateur pipe maker. I thought I can see a path.
That's lovely. That's really lovely. Yeah.
Chris, would it be fair to say that your pipes went from terrible to horrifying?
I like that. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to use that. That's wonderful. Yeah.
All yours.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. Good.
So let's dive a little deeper into your pipe creation process, or not just the pipe process, but sort of the evolutionary journey of your pipe making. So how early on did the exploration of nightmare, I'm trying to characterize it in a certain way, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, but your style, let's say.
So the first things that I did were just trying to get normal pipe shapes, because that's this is really boring, but making a billiard is still the hardest thing to do if you've not made a billiard. So I spent quite a long time just trying to get normal shapes, and I did. The way that I made them mine was by making them metal pipes. So I just was sticking studs on them all over the shop, as many as I could in some instances. And I think I was doing that for about a year, just finding my feet. So that was so I made pipes for a year before I started selling. And then in the first year that I was selling, it was mainly studded pipes. And there was a guy called Rockstar Pipes. I don't know if you guys remember that chap. He's still around, but not as Rockstar Pipes anymore. And he was like, I'm Rockstar Pipes, and those are Rockstar Pipes, so I've got to have those. And we did business for a good year and maybe even 2 years. That gave me the time to start experimenting with what I wanted to sort of go forward on. And the first more unusual pipes were cultist pipes, which on those ones, the drilling was straightforward. So it was still the drilling of a billiard or a pot, if you like, but straightforward internals. But it allowed me to play with the form. And so I made a bunch of them. There was the Esoteric Order of Dagon cultist pipe, which was kind of like the precursor to the deep one, because it's like a straight drilled pipe, but it has these slightly aquatic elements on it. Then I made Cult of the Bloody Tongue. Then there was, what else was there? Brothers of the Yellow Sign. I think that was it. And that was the one where I did actually, so the top of that one has a crown, and I did gold leaf on the top. And that was kind of a stepping stone. All those cultist pipes were the stepping stone for bigger things. So the Dagon, Esoteric Order of Dagon was the precursor to the deep one. And I'm trying to think what the others may have led to. I don't know. But I tried to, actually I was really plumbing Lovecraft stories quite directly, because there's like a Wizard Whately pipe. There is, I made a Lavinia pipe. If you know the character of Lavinia, she's called the Crooked Albino. So I made a pipe, and it was with a white stem, and I painted it white acrylic, which was a big no-no. I didn't intend to sell it. I made it purely for theatrical effect. What else? Here I am trying to think about my past work. One of the ones that I really did like was the shroom pipes. I really went down the kind of like the mushroom route for a while, because the kind of, okay, so in, there's a Lovecraft story, it's called Whisper in the Dark, and there are these creatures in it called the fungi from Yuggoth. So kind of this idea of mushroomy, fungoid elements kind of has this strong link with weird fiction. And I wondered how I was going to tap into that. And it came out in these shroom pipes, which is again, sort of like allowing, the plateau of the briar is always, it's wild, it's very organic. And because of that, you can let the pipe sort of tell you what you want to do with it. You know, it'll have this kind of like extraordinary, like peaks and troughs and dips, and then you can just decide to work around that, decide which bit you think is interesting, and go from there. And then that led into the Trompette de la Mort, which is this. This was the one that I had an idea to do, but I didn't have I knew it was going to be a really deep bowl. And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? I don't have any bit that will do it. And so I had to go to a tool maker. That's when I knew. I was in deep at that point when you got to have bespoke tools made. But actually, there's a guy, he's called, he might be called spoonbits.com, in fact. And he makes, you tell him what you want and he'll make it. I said, I need a bit this long. It's got a taper to the bottom because the mushroom tapers like this. So it's to make the use. And it's, yeah. Am I just prattling on now?
You're prattling on in the perfect way, actually. I love it. I have a quick insert question, and that is briar your primary medium, or do you use other woods? Or I know that you use other textures, but
I tried to use olive wood. In fact, I've still got some olive wood, and I brought some mortar. But despite briar being the frustrating material it is, it's the right medium. I can't describe. You see some pipe makers really making good use of olive wood. I've tried shaping olive wood and it's just, I can't get on with it. And mortar is more fragile. So even though briar is can break your heart sometimes, it's the medium. It's the only one I like to work in. Yeah.
Got it. I want to toss in a couple of comments, or at least one comment over here on YouTube, and then open it up again to questions and inquiries for Chris. Steph says she wants a pipe either shaped like an antique Singer sewing machine or with a sketch of a sewing machine cut into the pipe. And Steph, I'm not sure if you're asking Chris if he can make you one or if you're just wishing, but that's
sewing machine looking pipes. That sounds like an Uwe Meyer pipe to me, not an Eldritch pipe.
So, fellas, I know that a few more people have joined into the Zoom room, and I see a few more people joining over there on YouTube. I'm opening it up so that just jump in. And for those of you in the Zoom room here, you know I have put us all on mute. That just keeps the ambient sounds from taking over the Zoom. But throw your mics back on and just ask Chris whatever you have on your mind.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned Lovecraft because his grave is about 2 miles from me in Providence, Rhode Island.
You live in Providence?
Well, I'm in Pawtucket, next town over.
Amazing. That's amazing. I will make it one day.
He's buried in Swan Point Cemetery, which is this real large cemetery with a lot of rolling hills, and I take my bicycle through there once in a while. I'm not exactly sure where his tomb is, but I've probably ridden past it more times than I can count.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
So Chris, I have a question for you. I have a question for you. So when I'm right, so some of your pipes you are making are based on a classic shape with something around. So what is your favorite classic shape to work with, and why is that?
Favorite classic shape is probably a print. And because a print looks like a really simple shape, but all you need to do is Google pipe shape print to see how everybody does it differently. No one can quite land on the same thought, quite. I was just talking to another pipe maker today, about the print. Even on my website, if you look at all the print shapes, damn it, they're all different. You know, I just can't keep it straight. There's something magical there in a print, and I still haven't captured it. And so there's something that keeps drawing me back to making the print. Kind of a lot of the other classic shapes, billiards, Dublins, they kind of, I don't know, after a while they almost make themselves, if you know what I mean. You go, okay, I'm making a billiard now. You can't sort of take your foot off the pedal in the sense of you can't stop thinking, but you get there and it's like, yes, I've made a billiard now. The prints, you shape and then you go, right, I've got it. Or have I? Maybe I just need to take a bit more off the top. And maybe I just need to flatten the bottom off a bit more. And now sort of like its waistline, maybe I've got to bring that up. You kind of always, to me, it's the shape that doesn't sit still in my head. It's like there is a perfect print out there somewhere, but still trying to find it. Still trying to replicate it more than once as well.
And that reminds me of the last pipe carving contest by Pipes and Tobaccos magazine. It was Prince shape in the last one. And I remember the pictures of all different ones. They so different and still it's recognizable Prince. Like billiard gives you less room for improvisation.
Some people like make a billiard and just kind of like shorten it. And some people make what looks like really almost just an apple. It's just like just a round, almost spherical shape. And then some people make something that's really squat. And yeah, it's
yeah, but in Prince you can play with angles more than in a billiard, so it gives you much more room for improvisation, for your own interpretation.
Yes, yeah, exactly. There is a lot of room in a Prince. There's almost no room in a billiard. There's a lot of room in a Prince, yeah.
Here's a question from over, oh, this is an interesting one. I'm curious about how you answer this. What is your definition of the anti-pipe?
That would be a plug of briar shaped like the inside of a chamber and nothing else. That would be an anti-pipe. Oh no, there'd be a bit of briar that would be the airway. Is that what you mean? The anti-pipe.
I have no idea what it means. But I'll go with
I will say one thing about anti-pipe. I did make a pipe that had like the spikes on it were about 4 inches long, and they went all around. It was called the antisocial pipe. And that was kind of like the idea behind that was kind of to be the opposite of that archetype of a pipe being a relaxing thing. This was like an angry stay away from me kind of thing.
Sounds like a suitable social distancing pipe.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll need to make one with 10-inch spikes.
Hey, Chris.
Have you explored the pole-shaped pipes at all?
The old ones? Paul. I have not. No. I don't know why not. It hasn't called to me, that shape. In fact, I've only done one full bent pipe, and it was. Are you familiar with the Dunhill LC pipe? It's a pipe where the shank curved like nearly 90 degrees. Very unusual shape. It has this and then the stem comes off, and the drilling is impossible. And so I wanted to make that pipe. I made it with a resin shank and did it like that. That's the only full bent that I've made. But I do like the idea. There's a lot of meat on an oom pawl, so they could probably do something with it. But maybe.
How did Dunhill do that? Did they use the bent bits for that? Because there is such a thing.
You can research the history of the Dunhill LC, and after a certain point, they just spliced the shank on, so they didn't actually drill curved. But before that date, I think the story is that they were drilled by someone in France who never passed on how he did it. There are a few people who do it today. Max, I can't remember his name, but there's something like Max Pipes.
Max Caps.
Max Caps. He does, his hashtag is tricky drilling. And you can see them. Yeah, they're mind-boggling. They must take hours to drill.
By the way, I want to say to the people who haven't maybe run across Chris until today, which, by the way, I'm sorry for the coma. But his website is eldritchpipes.com, and his Instagram profile is at Eldritch Pipes. And I encourage you, I implore you to go dig around in the gallery of shapes. And over there on his Instagram channel also, tons more that don't appear on the website, and some, in fact, I was going to ask a couple of questions, and then I went to your Instagram channel and I got the answers by looking at some of the pictures that you put up there. So if you're looking for more, or if you want to Google it up right now while you're simultaneously watching the stream, go to his Instagram channel and check that out. And make some comments, by the way, while you're doing that. Here's another question from YouTube group. Do you have a dream pipe that exists in your imagination that you would like to make, but not sure how?
That's a great question. There are pipes that I have in my head that exceed my ability. So I suppose the ultimate Lovecraft pipe is a Cthulhu pipe. But I can't do that. I'm not, what would you call that kind of pipe maker? So like, do you know Stephen Downey? He can sculpt in briar. That is a skill I'm tremendously envious of. But I have tried. I've tried last year, and I'll keep doing it until I get better. I was just trying to do skulls in briar, just to see if I could get better at it, because then if I could do skulls, then I could do a Cthulhu skull, and that would be a way to do it. But as yet, my ability on that score sucks pretty hard. So that won't be happening anytime soon. Yeah. So a Cthulhu skull pipe is my dream pipe, but that won't be coming anytime soon.
That would be absolutely tentacular.
It was.
Chris, if I may, please. For a moment, I thought of this kind of steampunk aesthetic, but maybe that's not quite what you're doing there. There's something that exceeds steampunk. But I just wonder whether you have kind of an ideal pipe smoker in mind, or what would you like people to experience smoking your pipes?
So I guess on that front, it's like, who do I imagine smokes my pipes? Is people who don't, oh no. How long do I have to form my reply to that? I like the idea that when someone reaches for their Eldritch pipe, it's that, oh my God, that they're just getting something that they can't get from anywhere else, which is like, what is it? It's, they can express their weird through my weird. Let's say that. Pipes can be, let's face it, there's a lot of brown pipes. There always will be, because you know, it's a very harmonious thing for a pipe to be. So like the archetypal brown billiard will be with us for all time because it's perfect look, perfect form for a pipe. So the Eldritch pipe is a way of forcefully breaking those bonds and doing something unusual, but also, can I call them conversation starters? What the hell are you smoking is what I want people to say.
I just want to add on the subject of unusually shaped shanks. One of the greatest masters in this field is Luigi Viprati. He has some interesting shanks with interesting bends, and he uses bend bits to drill those shanks. But his work is, yes, it's unique.
Cool.
Yeah, Chris, do you use bamboo at all?
Sorry, what?
I said, do you use bamboo at all in your?
I have been shown how to use bamboo by Ian Walker. In fact, he sat me down because I've got a pipe that I can't make. The shank is flawed, and at the moment it's just collecting dust on a shelf. And Ian said you could put a bamboo shank on that, and I said I would, but I have no idea how. I even have a piece of bamboo because I picked one up when I was in Chicago, at the Chicago Pipe Show. Blimey, it seems like about 1 million years ago now, but it was beginning of 2019. And I still haven't had the courage to actually give it a go. So no bamboo as yet. I'm a resin guy.
Yeah, let's talk. Well, let me do this before we jump into that, because I want to dive into the resin in a second here. But there's a couple of questions over there on YouTube. Paul is on fire with his questions today, and he says, and this might be an opportunity for you to show off some of your others pipes that you brought today. He said, which of your own pipe designs brings you the most joy to make?
Okay, well, okay, right. I'm going to show you another pipe. So I guess I like making pipes that, so you know that traditionally you do all your shaping on the wheel. A lot of people do most of their shaping on the wheel. And I like making pipes that are impossible to make on a wheel. You have to get in with carving tools and go that way. And I like doing surprising elements, I suppose. So I'm going to show you a pipe called the Bone Walker. Don't know if you can see that guy.
Yeah, that you're showing up great.
So he has elements there. I'm just trying to catch the light. So you have these like ribbed elements. You can see, so it's like carved all the way through. I'm just trying to find the right angle here. So you just have to get in amongst the briar and risk your fingers and health by just getting in there and doing it. And then creating curious details on stems. Oh, it's this way. Sometimes working with a camera confuses me. So it's like this is frail enough to break off. I quite like the tension of bits looking like they might break off. There's some perverse element there.
Hey, Chris, it's Silver. Do you use a Fordham or a Dremel to carve, or do you use hand tools?
Yeah, I use a Fordham. I use Dremels as well, but I burn out quite a lot of Dremels. It was Stephen Downey. I saw him working. I said, "What are you using?" And he told me Fordham. And then it's like, okay, I have to get one of those because Dremels just don't last. So
knowing that Simon's in the house right now, I want to ask about the tools and the heavy duty equipment that you use for your pipe making.
Well, I mean, like for people doing like unusual elements like that, sort of like getting into the briar. I mean, it's all rotary tools, and for me, it's a Fordham because, like I just said, the Dremels last about a year under constant use, and so yeah, I got tired of buying Dremels, and it was only when I saw Stephen Downey working, and he looked like he had a serious piece of kit, and told me it was a Fordham, and you just have to pick up a Fordham to know it weighs about 3 times what a Dremel does, maybe more. It's the motor is it's a serious piece, and it's also got a foot pedal, which is super cool because you just have like touch control when you're working. And actually, I found these really cool bits. They're I think they're milling bits, but normal rotary burrs, kind of like the hardest thing to do is to go into the briar. You can scrape off the briar, but you can't, it's very difficult to get into it. And quite a lot of what I want to do is get into it to create depth, or, to drill out pieces, create voids and things. And there are these like little, you can get these mill sets. And so like they have almost like a drill bit right at the end and a carving exterior. So you can kind of like you can drill in and carve out at the same time, which is perfect for what I do. There's no other real special equipment. I mean, not that anybody else doesn't use.
Yeah, I did some jewelry work probably 40 years ago, and we always used Fordhams. They were just amazing tools. You could drill through white gold with those things.
They're irreplaceable. Yeah, they're like you can make a pipe with just a Fordham. You can completely shape a pipe, no problem. Well, not no problem. Almost no problem. Yeah.
Here's another fascinating question. Forever Whereafter on YouTube says, do you see a connection to pipe smoking implicit in the Lovecraft work, or do you just like combining your two areas of interest?
I think it has an implicit element connection to the weird. I don't know, probably because of Sherlock. So really probably because of Conan Doyle. And he really sets, because Sherlock is set when it's set, which is right at the same time as Lovecraft. And then just after, writers like Algernon Blackwood and another big author whose name now just eludes me, but the writer of the Dr. Silence. Actually, there's an amazing Dr. Silence story. The reason that I made that pipe, the very first Dr. Silence story, if you don't know, Dr. Silence he's a Sherlock-like character, but he investigates paranormal events. And he spends the night in this effectively haunted house. And he mostly sits by a fire smoking his pipe, and he has a cat called Smoke and a dog called Flame. It's like this whole story, the introduction to this guy is all around pipe smoking. And so that's why, I had to make that pipe. But then although Lovecraft himself didn't smoke, loads of his characters that are all, university professors like Armitage or something, they're all smoking pipes. There is just this, what is it? I couldn't necessarily really put it into words, but there's something that resonates there. That's probably the best I can put it.
Chris, which one of your creations you consider to be the best that you have made? Or which one you think that probably, it's the best I have made, but it has been underrated by the consumer?
Funnily enough, I think it might have been, I mentioned the Dunhill LC, and I made the Eldritch LC. And when I posted pictures of that, I thought that this is going to blow people's minds because they're not going to know how I've made this. If you want to have a look, you can go to the Eldritch Pipes and have a look at the Eldritch LC. And people said, that's nice. I went, oh, okay. That took me 2 weeks of sweating and thinking I'd messed everything up, and then thought I'd created something special, and it didn't land. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I know what it took to make it. So maybe that's why I think it's special. And maybe it doesn't come across in the way that it looks.
I think people don't know the engineering that goes into it. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes, the sweat, as you say, that you'll put into it. Many times I'll put a pipe, and I'm only very inexperienced compared to you, but if I put out a pipe, which I think is stonking, and I'll get, ooh, nice grain. I said, yeah, it's nice grain. I didn't do anything about the grain. The grain's there. But what about the shaping? And what about the style? And what about the design? That kind of thing. And, it can be frustrating sometimes. But at the end of the day, people don't know what's gone into it.
All right, before we go any further, I have to ask, because I'm, in case you guys don't know, I'm an American. So I have never heard the word stonking before. So you're going to have to explain that one.
Stonking is, I don't know, what you'd call it in America, something wicked, I suppose. Out of the park, that kind of thing. You knocked it out of the park.
and that is Simon's American accent, so that, just so you know. Super. Want to make sure that we get any other questions that you guys have before we jump into talking about the rod work that Chris also does. We've got a couple of questions I've been saving from over there on YouTube about that.
Well, how about kind of an oddball one, but Chris, the earring that's in your ear, what is that?
Oh, do you mean this guy?
Yes. It's just unique.
I think it's called a fish hook.
Oh.
I'll take it out now. It'll take me forever to put it back in.
We lost it.
Yeah. I think it's just called a fish hook.
Oh, because it almost looks like the shape of a pipe. So
the silhouette.
You know what? I should make myself one out of briar. I should. Yes. That is a good idea. That's going on my list. Yeah.
I've made my
commissions, please.
I've made my kids earplugs. They have their ears stretched, and I've made them earplugs out of briar.
Oh, well, then maybe I need to get you to make me one then.
So let's, Chris, I have a quick question for you. How's your time this evening?
Do you mean what time is it, or how am I doing for time?
How are you doing for time, sir?
Oh, I'm good.
Oh.
I'm fine.
Because we're progressing towards when we usually end the show, but I think we have so much more to chat about. I wouldn't want to let you go too early. But let's talk about, let's shift this a little bit to the resin work that you're doing. Can you just sort of take us from the beginning of that and tell us a little bit about it?
Okay. So do you remember I said that I'm an idea first pipe maker? And so what would happen in the beginning is that I would come up with an idea for a pipe, and I would want the stem to be a certain color before I knew what was available. So then I would have to trawl everywhere that sold materials that you could, acrylics and so forth, to see if I could, what would most closely match the idea in my head. And that became quite aggravating. It's much simpler if you see what's out there first and just buy that and make a pipe with it. But that's not the way my brain works. So I had to start by, that's what I started doing. I cast pen blanks, effectively, the pen blank format. And the easiest resin to work with at first is polyester, because it doesn't require any special equipment. You just need to make yourself some molds and some pigments, and you're pretty well away. And so I did that for 2 or 3 years. But there's a couple of downsides with polyester. The downside to working with it is that there are a lot of fumes that come off polyester. It's it doesn't smell bad, but you need a well ventilated area to work in. And after a while, I started to think maybe I didn't want to do this forever. I started selling some pen blanks as well, but the pen making community and the pipe making community work quite differently. So pen makers will want one blank of one style, and that's it. And pipe makers usually want a good amount of the stuff. And so the stuff that I was making was kind of like neither fitted one group nor the other. But that was all right. Because I used what I didn't sell anyway. And the game changer was when Rat Rays started buying. I don't know how they found me. It might have been Instagram, but they wanted to do something colorful and asked if I would do that for them. And I went, yeah, that's fine, obviously. And that's what they did. They bought a boatload of blanks and made, I can't remember what that range was called, the ones that they used, the polyester ones. Might have been called, oh, no, it's gone. It's gone. But anyway, then they wanted to do another run of something different, but they wanted to move on from the polyester because they could only their guys in one area could work the polyester. They couldn't, their machines couldn't work the polyester because the machines that they've got needed 0.5 meter or meter rods, and you can't cast polyester like that. It's too brittle for a start. It's just not conducive. So they asked me to investigate making rods, which I did. And it took a little while. It's not, creating 0.5 meter rods is not an easy problem to solve. Because, am I going to go into it much? There are a number of problems to solve because you don't want bubbles in your rod, but you don't want your colors to mix. So curing time is a bit of a thing. You want it to cure slowly enough so that the bubbles can come out, but quickly enough so that the colors don't mix. It's a bit of a fine-tuning thing. And there's lots of resins out there. So you have to find the one that does the job for the application that you need. So I did that, and then that project was over.
Was that the Meerschaum Goddess series?
Yes, well done.
It wasn't for me, I have to say. That was from one of our YouTube community guys there, but yes.
Thank you, whoever you are. Yeah, the word, some royalty queen was in my head, but I couldn't attach it to anything. Yeah, Meerschaum Goddess. That sounds right. But yeah, but once I'd started doing that for rat trays, then it was like, okay, then I wanted to create something for myself, which led to the Eldritch Cumberland, which is where I'm at right now. And that's pretty much the entire, well, I say that's almost the end of the story. The part that brings us up to speed is that the Rawcrafted the guys at rawcrafted.com had been hearing, I was selling little bits to a couple of pipe makers, and it was trundling along nicely. I was just making some rods of resin a month, and then Kreml from Rawcrafted came to me and went, we'd like to sell this stuff. I went, cool, how much do you want? He said, lots. I went, okay, that's cool, but I might have to adjust my setup. So I just had to buy some more equipment to deal with Rawcrafted's order. That's where we are now.
So then in the mix between making pipes and making stock, what do you spend more time on?
Pipes, no doubt about it. Resin is a kind of, it's like it takes a small, intense period of time. So I do my casting in the morning. It takes me about an hour and a half. And then the pressure pots are full, and that's it for 2 days. Can't touch it for 2 days. So then 2 days later, I break them all out, do some more casting, and then that's it for another 2 days. And that's how it goes. So I do my resin casting in the morning, and then it's pipes for the rest of time, pretty much, which is about right, because pipe making isn't really, it's not, I don't know if people think that it's work, but it's not work. It's just fun. So basically people pay me to have fun. That's what happens.
So,
I don't know if you know that.
so a personal kind of question then. Do you have a day job?
Sorry, go on, Silver. Was it Silver?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on your rod stock. I bought a bunch of rods from you some time ago, and I haven't really used them. So recently I decided I wanted to, and I made, it's like a mini church warden. And so I liked it so much. I made this is my personal pipe out of the red. And I have to say, I wear a lot of lipstick, and I don't get the lip stuff on the stem like I do on the ebonite. It is so comfortable. It is so light. I talked to Simon a couple of weeks ago about, because he said he'd used your rod stock and gave me a hint on bending, and that you have to do it low heat and slow. And he was right on, because it can wobble a bit if you get it too warm. But I absolutely love it.
Thank you. I did do, because I had a couple of questions about bending. So there is on Rawcrafted's site, I did a video to sort of cover everything, and I showed, well, I mean, you know now, but if you want to see me bending a stem, which is thrilling, I can tell you, just standing over a hairdryer, but yeah, there you go. I actually do it on high heat, but far away. That's the way I do it. So there's like, you know, a lot of distance, but low and slow is just as well. Yeah.
Chris, did you bring any other pipes? You've shown us some fantastic ones. I'd love to see more if you have them by.
I shown you the Slender Man. I've shown you the deep one and the Bone Walker. Oh, it looks like I've only got one in hand. It's not a weird one though. It's just a stacked billiard. But this has, I'm going to call it, I have been calling it, if this will focus. Will it focus? It's slate Cumberland, so it's like a dark grey and a light grey, even though on my camera, it looks like that's quite hard to see. It looks like it's a uniform grey.
No, it's showing up well on the camera.
I definitely want a rod of that.
That's pretty cool. So what I will tell you about casting resin is that there's a curious fact that different colors have different densities. So one of the features of the normal Cumberland is that during the curing process, the black tends to rise. It's slightly less dense than the other colors. So the top of the rod is darker, and the bottom of the rod tends to have more color. But when you have, yeah, that's crazy, that one is. Is that a black and white one? It's hard to tell if it might have been a pearl one. Black and white, yeah. But with the two grays, because their densities are more or less the same, they don't, there's that rising, that sort of like slightly separating action doesn't happen, and they mingle, and you get this like really fine detail, just like oodles of fine detail coming through it, and it's really great. It's really great.
Chris, sorry, go on. Don't let me interrupt you.
Well, I was just going to say that Pramil has asked for that, so there's going to be a bunch of that going to Rawcrafted next month.
I was just going to ask, I got a rod of faux ivory from a Vermont freehand recently, which is essentially very similar to the grey one he just showed, but it's 2 grades of white. So white and a slightly creamier swirl, which is really nice. Are you planning on doing something like that, perhaps, for use as ivory?
I'm only going to do, they're going to do I suppose it is an ivory, but it's not a grained one. It's just a solid ivory color. So yeah, if I get a chance to play, I might do something more interesting. But at the moment,
I'd certainly be interested in that. Right, and what about the one you did for your limited edition set that you made for of the 4 Horsemen?
Well, okay, all right. So I don't know how many people know, but we did a box set last year. That was a set that contained a pipe from myself, Chris Asquith, Ian Walker of Northern Briars, and Mike from Blakemar. And I cast a 3-color resin, which is unusual. I normally just cast 2 colors, but for a very practical reason. In order to cast that 3-color rod, I had to have my wife and my son with a cup in each hand, sort of pouring into the rod, because it's, I've tried to think how I could do it by myself, and as yet, I haven't figured it out. So it's not an easy color to make. If I crack a method of making it on a regular basis, then I might make it available.
It sounds like you need to make some kind of automated, like a 3-spout device that holds 3 different colors and releases it in a timed way.
In my mind, if I could have a cup that was like separated, so I could have 2 colors in one cup and then 1 color in the other, then I would be sorted. But at the moment, that doesn't seem to exist in reality. So I don't know how to do it just yet. Because the problem is getting, it's not just getting the 3 colors into the
you
rod.
could make like a, you could make like a bucket in a well. So you put 3 cups and tie it into a single rope, and you can let go of the rope and 3 of the cups will, you know.
That sounds fascinating. maybe, but yeah, it's pour rate as well, because you've got 3 colors that you're trying to pour more or less at the same speed. It doesn't matter if they're a bit off, because you're sort of correct, and that helps create sort of variation throughout the rod. That's fine, but you can't have, if you've got a 3-color rod, then all 3 colors need to be present in some ratio throughout the rod.
Here's an idea, Chris. How about you take 3 of your widest rods that you make, bore them out, tie them together, put holes in them in the bottom of each one, or a spout or a spigot of some kind, and you're holding 3 at the same time, fill them with your resin and let them pour out into your machine.
Could be. I don't know how I could bore 1/2 meter at the moment.
Oh, right, okay. You'll be at it forever then if it was 1/2 meter, yeah. Well, something like that anyway. Or even 3 big containers which come together at the bottom with 3 spigots at the end of it, and somehow suspend them above your device.
Yeah, I have an idea. If a teenager can grow 1 foot in a year, maybe by next year you'll have 3 hands.
Very good, Kent.
I could do a lot with this one.
You could go to a second-hand shop.
I already have a second hand.
Before we
That's true.
drive, I have to jump over before we drive too deep into the pipe making stuff and all this. I have a question, and maybe a standard question. How many pipes do you make in a year, Chris? And do you smoke only your own pipes, or do you have different brands? Do you prefer? And the third question is, what is your absolutely favorite pipe and you smoke very often?
Those are good questions. I can answer all of those. That's good. So I make between 2 and 3 pipes a week. So what's that? That is, and I work most weeks. So it's more or less somewhere between 100 and 150 a year. Something like that. Let's say 125 would be the average number I'd make a year. I made for myself, do I smoke only my own? I smoke mostly my own now, only because I had a pipe collection before I started making pipes, and while I was making, I still bought the odd few, but I haven't bought a pipe in many years now. I guess that's just part of the course. The problem is, what happens is, not every pipe you make passes muster for one reason or another. And so you wind up just having a lot of second pipes lying around. And so the need for buying pipes kind of goes out the window for any sort of practical purpose. Obviously, if you, I want a Christian Wolfsteiner pipe. That's what I want. At some point, when I see one, I will get one. They're out there somewhere. He worked under the name of Tarek Raya, and so I will buy pipes, I suppose, now off other pipe makers that I really like. But apart from that, I'll be smoking my own. And my favorite pipe to smoke is just a little acorn. It's quite small. It's very light.
So you have it not on hand right now?
I don't. No, It's in the workshop. You can watch almost any video on YouTube, and I'll be smoking it. And it's just, I don't know what it is, but I smoke it when I'm working, and so it's the one just I always reach for. It's my pipe. Yeah, it's great. I should make another one because I've smoked the Jesus out of it.
So you're a full-time pipe maker and supplier for stems?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been full-time for 5 years. It happened very suddenly because it wasn't the plan. I didn't have it in mind that I would be full-time pipe making, even at this stage. I thought I would be still in a job, probably. But life happens. And me and my wife, we had a boy, and then he was going to start school. And we didn't have any sort of close family around that would be able to look after him, sort of in summer holidays. So I kind of went from hobby pipe maker to, okay, I'm going to have to do this.
So that brings me to another question. You make everything on a pipe by your own, or you work with some people together?
I do everything myself. There was a guy who's local who I had been teaching to make stems, but I was teaching him right just when the pandemic started. And so he lives kind of local, but we basically haven't seen each other since. So there was an idea that when he was good enough, we would start doing something, but that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it'll happen later this year, but yeah, for all my pipes are just handmade by me, and all my stems are hand cast.
So Chris, let me.
Are most
follow
of your
up on
pipes
this.
commissioned before you start? I'm looking on your website and I see one available pipe.
Oh yeah, and that's not available. Sorry, I'm very slow at updating the website. The website is like the last thing that I think about usually.
That's what my question then. So how do we know when you've got pipes available? And if you don't mind talking about it, tell us about your price range.
Yeah, no, that's no problem. I have my commission list is about 8 months at the moment, so I booked out to August, so and I've just had an email, so I'll probably be booking September, I imagine. What I try to do, if I can, is I'll book a commission a week, and hopefully that will give me time to make another pipe that I can sell, which is the way that I like to do it. But for example, even February has got a little wrinkled, and so the likelihood of me making a pipe available is pretty low to non-existent now. So it might be March before I make a pipe that's actually available. And my price range at the moment is from 220, obviously in British pounds, 220 for, maybe I should talk about my categories. I kind of have two broad categories, and that is what I call standard shapes, which includes strawberries, Viking horns, Dr. Silence, Slender Man, what else? Dublins, you know, standard shapes. 220 for a sandblast, 270 for a smooth. And then you can also have that shape as an alchemist, in other words, as a briar and resin construction piece. And those are 350. Then there's what I call the Eldritch card, which would be things like the carnivorous snail, the deep one, mandragora root, trompette de la mort, any of the cultist pipes. So you know the kind of exotic carved. Those are, so I'm just trying to remember my price list for 2021. 300 for one as they stand, or 400 as a resin fusion. So, for example, one of the ones that works really well as a resin fusion is the carnivorous snail, because you can make the shell as a resin piece, and quite often I do that as a mother of pearl resin. It's a really eye-catching way to do it. So that kind of gives you my broad.
I have another question. What was first, the name of your pipe or the pipe himself?
Do you mean, did Eldritch Pipes, did the name Eldritch?
You have all the crazy names for your pipes, and I love it. So what is first? The name, because it's out of your brain, or the pipe, and then say, oh, it looks like, I don't know, whatever.
There's no rules. It's which the cultist pipes were made as cultist pipes. So yeah, those were named before I made them. I knew what I was making as I was going in.
First rule of Eldritch, there are no rules.
Yeah, there's no rules. Some have, actually, the Curse of Yig pipe, I originally called that, I changed, my original name for that was, I think it was Texas Horntails, because when I was finished, I thought it looked more like a lizard. But then I changed my mind and went, no, it fits my Yig idea fine. So sometimes I do play with a name. It's like the carnivorous snail. When did I come up with a name for that? I knew it was a snail. I think I literally named that when I was taking photographs of it. I went, yeah, I know what I'm going to call that.
So I've seen on some of your YouTube videos talking about, okay, I'm working on this pipe and it should be done in a week or so or whatever. Is that like one of the best places to find out that you have a new pipe coming?
You can definitely find pipes there, yeah, as I'm making them, for sure. And I would say Instagram. If you are watching me there, you'll see. Well, okay, Instagram will be a bit confusing because I will put up works in progress that are both commissions and not. So you'll get a mix there. And I guess I'm not always clear about what's what, because I'll just throw up a picture. Whereas YouTube, if something's available, I'll just go, yeah, this is available. Like the Curse of Yig pipe. Oh, and this stack billiard, they're both available. I do have 2 pipes available at the moment.
So one more time for those people who are not familiar or not keeping track of Chris, 3 great places now to see his work, to follow his work, to find out when new things might be available. Number 1 is website, eldritchpipes.com. But apparently that's the last thing to get updated. So maybe not go there to look through the gallery, because I've got a pipe, my eye on a shape that's probably never going to be made again. But I'm going to ask for commission for Christmas next year, I think. Then his Instagram eldritchpipes.com is his website. His Instagram is at Eldritch Pipes, and then your YouTube channel, Chris, is Eldritch Pipes.
Is it?
I
don't know how that works. I don't know how YouTube works. You just have to search for it.
Just have to search for it. There we go. So before we run out of time, and we are going a little bit over our usual time, and Chris, how I do this is I usually get about to this time of the afternoon and then say, so as not to get us in trouble with our spouses or the rest of our families so that we can come back next week. I try to keep it to around a 2-hour block, but you're too fascinating to let go yet. I want to talk about your stories, reading stories or playing stories on your YouTube channel. First of all, I love it, man. But what inspired you to start doing that? We could talk about what inspired me to do YouTube at all, and then go into the stories element. Because the YouTube thing was an interesting development. I haven't been doing it. I suppose I've been doing it for a while now, but it was definitely the last big move that I made in the sort of the social media sphere. And for a lot of it, I really just wanted to record my own thoughts, whether it was tobaccos, which was I did largely in the first year of doing YouTube. It was tobacco reviews. I found it really it just gave me a kick to do it. I don't know if you have watched much of those videos, but I didn't want to wrap my head around editing or anything like that. So I knew I was going to have to do it all sort of in one take, as it were. So I had to really just kind of relax, kind of just be happy in that space and go, yeah, I'm recording myself. Because, for most people, just recording ourselves talking, it's not the most natural thing in the world. You kind of have to acclimatize to it, especially if what you do as a day job is spend time in a workshop all by yourself talking to nobody. And then you're going to spend some time doing a load of talking. It's a very weird gear shift. I've been doing that for a while, and then the COVID hit, and I really was thinking,
that we were a lot of people in isolation, and I wanted to do, I think the original idea was that I would do some streaming, but my kit just isn't good enough for streaming. I gave it a go, and it was a very broken experience. It was very weird. And I went, okay, we can't do that. We're going to have to pre-record these things, which is what I did. But using the YouTube sort of Premiere format, at least we can all get together and, and watch it and listen to it, sort of all in the same space. And it also means that I can sort of show people the stories that I really like, which are weird fiction. I think is probably the most misunderstood because it's not horror. And the fact that it's not horror takes some people by surprise. Well, I mean, it has horror elements, but it's a kind of, it's meant to provoke a really unsettling feeling, which in itself is kind of nice. It's a very bizarre sort of space.
Like supernatural?
Yeah. Do you know, there's a genre, at least in English publishing, British publishing, called like cozy murders. There's a really odd kind of like, juxtaposition of like, oh, isn't this a nice murder mystery? It's this like comforting surroundings, but at the heart of it, something dark.
Midsummer Murders, Joe.
So, yeah. And it just happened to be at the same time the BBC were running this this 3-season adaptation of some Lovecraft work, which was perfect. I'd asked there's a group called the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society that have produced these amazing radio plays. If you don't know them, you should check them out because they're just top notch. And I wanted to use those, but they said, unfortunately, because of pandemic, this is like our only income now. So we're going to have to say no. I went, well, that's fair enough. I understand that. What can I use? And the BBC podcasts are already kind of like public viewing. So it was like no problem. So that just really served a great vehicle for just let's get together and listen to weird stories. And at the same time, I thought, okay, we're going to be listening to weird stories. That's great. What am I going to be doing? Because the camera's going to be pointing at, it's still a video format. What am I going to be doing? And I thought, okay, well, make pipes, obviously. I don't know if that's going to be interesting to watch. But, it's what I do. So I'm just going to go do it. And yeah, it was a nice little group that got together. So that's became a strange corner of my YouTube channel.
I love it. I, as a YouTuber myself, because I have another channel that's more associated with my day job, and I've been doing it for a while. You look for different kinds of formats. You look for the less typical kinds of format. And I loved the fact that we were watching, and I think it is, just so that you know, it is enormously fascinating to watch your work. And it is yeah, absolutely. I think there is a sort of a human fascination with watching craftsmen or skilled artisans do what they do, and seeing sometimes, oh wow, that's how that is done. I never knew that. It's really terrific. And then the background of the stories that you brought to us. There's a wraparound of the theme, and it's just really brilliant. I think you should continue with that.
If I've been looking for the next thing that would suit that format. There's not, because it's also not just finding something that would fit in terms of time, but also in terms of quality. There are a lot of productions of Lovecraft stuff out there, and they're not always the greatest, believe it or not. So it's got to be good. It's got to be something that has caught my attention. There's a really great podcast that I have been looking at. I've asked them, can I use their episodes? They haven't got back to me yet, but if they do, that will be a lot of content to make use of. So,
fantastic.
All fingers crossed.
Well,
Chris, I have a question for you, not pipe related. I know you like whiskey. Which ones are your favorites?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you my favorite easy drinking and my favorite kind of, what should we call it?
Stonking.
Holy Grail. Let's call it that. So my favorite easy drinking would probably be I'm going to say Dalmore 12. Dalmore 12 is my easy drinking. If I just want a nice whiskey, I'll grab that. I do have. Oh, shall I go grab it? There's a guy, Vangelis.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Although Vangelis has sent me some whiskey, but another guy. Oh no, I'm going to forget his name. That's going to be really terrible of me. But sent me a whiskey with a crazy name. Can I nip off?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, and I'm going to make a comment to the group here. So I'm going to move us towards the end of today's episode. So last chance to ask some questions of Chris about drinking or piping or whatever you want to ask. Goes for you guys over there on YouTube as well. If you have some questions for Chris, and we'll make this sort of the tail end, and then we'll have to bring him back, you guys, I think.
All right. Camera. This is from the Scotch Whisky, Single Malt Scotch Whisky Association, and it's called the Fun Time Party Greenhouse, and it is bottled at a whopping 60.7%. And this stuff is like nothing.
Nice.
It just...
when it comes to Dalmore, I like the whiskey finished in a cherry cask. It has like added a little bit of added sweetness, very nice flavor. I absolutely love Lagavulin 16.
I just picked up a bottle of Lagavulin actually. Lagavulin is great. Yeah, love Lagavulin.
Yeah. Right now I'm drinking bourbon, Widow Jane Decadence. It's 10 years old bourbon finished in maple syrup cask.
Nice.
Chris, I invited everybody to ask one last set of questions, and then we're gonna move to the end here. One question just came up from YouTube. It says, with so many strings in your bow, how do you have time to sleep?
I actually sleep pretty well now. It did seem for a time like I wasn't getting very much. I tell you what, you do get to a period, there's like a midpoint in your pipe making where you you're trying so hard to nail every detail that you're putting in really long days. I was kind of like getting up at 8 and working through till midnight, 1 o'clock, because I don't know, you reach a point where you know that you're capable of doing something, but you still mess up, so you have to keep going until you get it right. And so you just do crazy days. But now it's actually not so bad. Apart from the surprises of Briar, which still happen. In fact, last week was not a good week for Briar because the first bowl that I drilled had 2 flaws in it. And I don't know if you know about the ins and outs of pipe making, but anyway, flaws in the bowl are no-no. So it's always, you know, it's a real crunch because it's like several hours work down the drain, but I don't do those long days, quite so long days anymore. So I sleep pretty good.
Awesome. So Silver as the gender mix of our group here, and all the rest of the gentlemen in the club today. Last questions for Chris. Just throw them out there.
Chris, yeah, do you have any project in mind which you feel is the best, which is yet to come from your side, which so far hasn't come, and you have a plan that one of these days I'm going to do?
That's yes, is the answer. Shall I tell you what it is?
You can't stop now.
Okay. So I have an idea. Well, okay. So I suppose it's a little bit, or like, you know, calabash is well, we do it as there's a version of it where it's a briar bowl. So in a lot of ways, it's the chamber is briar, outside it is, well, is whatever. Different pipe makers do it in different, you know, you could have a mortar shell, is that a mortar gourd, maybe that's the way to put it, or an actual gourd. But it's the important bit is that the bit that the tobacco is going into is still briar. I have an idea that if I could cast it right, the entire pipe could be resin, all except for the bowl, which is still briar. So it would just be whatever crazy resin I'd cast it in with just a briar bowl, but it wasn't fitting, it was literally cast into the resin. But I don't have the courage to try that one just yet. And also, I'm not quite sure how I would suspend the briar in the resin so that it would be in just the right place. The resin itself is all right with the heat because it's quite heat resistant, but so it's not the issue of the briar and the resin. It's just getting the briar where I want it, almost to float in the resin at the right place. I've got to think about it because I also want to do like a clear resin with skulls in, but I haven't figured out how to suspend the skulls, how to position the skulls so that they'll appear in the shank. I might need to cast it in 2 parts. Yeah, the answer is yes, I've got ideas, but I don't know how to do yet.
That is the bedrock of genius is that I don't know space. Yeah, Jürgen, go ahead.
Uh-oh. Sorry, I might have missed something there.
No, I was just wanting to make sure that everybody who had a question had a chance to ask a question.
Okay, before we wrap it up, I just want to give you latest updates on the club tobacco blends. If you saw earlier, I was smoking 2 clay pipes. So today I eliminated another 2 versions of the blend. So now it's between number 3 and number 6. And it's definitely going to be Canadian Virginia, North Carolina Bright Virginia, Cum of Gras, Torique, and a little bit of Nicotiana Rustica. And probably in a couple of weeks, Patrick Grant and I are going to meet, and Patrick will be first person besides me to try the new blend. And if well, I really want to know what he doesn't like about it blend. I don't care about what he likes. I want to know what he doesn't like. And from there, I can actually proceed to creating final version of the blend.
Awesome. Well, let me take that opportunity then to sort of wrap us up today. A couple of quick announcements. Dimitri just updated us on what's happening with the club blend. And for those of you who don't know about it, we had such a fun time getting a club pipe earlier. We came up with this great, you came up with this great idea, and Oliver helped to shepherd it, that, hey, what about a club blend? So Dimitri's putting that together for us, and maybe next month we'll be able to have it. It will be in limited quantities, remember, and so it will only be available to people who are on the Facebook group. And for those my friends who are over there on YouTube and who are like Facebook avoiders, might be worth it just for that one thing, and then you could cancel. But we'll let you know about that. The other thing is we have a winner for the club logo. It was the one that we had listed as logo option number 1. And I did put a sample of it on the Facebook announcement about Chris's appearance today as our guest. And so if you want to go onto Facebook and just kind of scroll through there and see that announcement, you'll see how we use the logo and what it's going to look like. So I actually, I think it looked terrific. And so that will be our official new club logo. We'll update you when we have the finished graphics for that, and T-shirts and coffee mugs and hats and stuff, tattoos, all that will be available. Kent can't wait to get a tattoo with the Pipe Club logo. So right there in the middle of his forehead, he said, right there. And finally, just a quick reminder about our guest for next week, if my mouse is working, and it's not, but it will be Steve Willett, who is the manager of the LJ Peretti shop in Boston. And we're going to get a chance to take a tour of the shop, and it'll be our first of 2021's visits to brick and mortars that are, you know, the favorites of all of our friends and members. Chris, I just have one last question for you.
Okay.
Will you come back again and be our guest a second time?
Yeah, I will be, because there's some things we haven't talked about. You got Ken Byron coming on in a couple of weeks.
Yes.
Is that right? Because I've done a couple of blends with him, and we should talk about those at some point.
Well, you know, many of our guest speakers have sort of wandered in and joined us as, you know, members of the group when we have another guest. You're always welcome. If you ever have, you know, an evening when you're sitting around and the boy has gone to bed and you want to join and just kind of sit around and chat, you're always welcome. I personally would love to hang out with you and just sit and chat and stuff.
It's been great fun chat.
Yeah. you've been a terrific guest, and I just really want to thank you for your time, sir, and for all that you shared with us. So that's it for this week. So this is what I say every week, but I mean it every week. This is the best part of my week. I love having a chance I look forward to it so much, to hanging out with you guys.
I agree.
Chatting with you and just exploring the hobby and what you're terrific people, and I really appreciate you. Wash your hands, wear your masks, whatever you do to take care of yourself so that I can see you next week, and have a great week. Take care, my friends.
Well,
Thanks, David. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.